Hello, this is Peter Marzano with Big 4 Sports, b4sports.com, and I'm back to give you my predictions for the 4-5 matchup in the Western Conference between your defending Stanley Cup champion Los Angeles Kings in the 5 seed and the St. Louis Blues in the 4 seed. Now, this is probably the most interesting matchup and probably the one I'm looking the most forward to watching in the Western Conference, simply because these are two teams that seem to be pretty evenly matched. But in the end, I actually see a distinct advantage in one of these two teams. So let's get right to it, start with the offense. And obviously with the offense, we got to look at the team that just won the Stanley Cup last year, the Los Angeles Kings. Their offense is absolutely loaded. You're looking at guys like their captain, Dustin Brown, one of the top goal-scoring forwards in the NHL, and Jeff Carter. You're looking at a guy like Andrei Kopitar, who may be a future Hall of Famer one day. Mike Richards. They really are stacked offensively. Not to mention, a guy like Justin Williams knows how to play offensive hockey. So, really, the Kings are looking at a pretty nice offensive advantage there, but don't discredit the St. Louis Blues one bit. In St. Louis, you also have some great offensive players. You're looking at David Perron, David Backes, TJ Oshie. They have a nice, solid core of offensive players. Maybe not a lot of stars, but people that can come together, bring a lot of chemistry, and make the Blues a really tough team to beat. But obviously, just because the Kings actually have some star forwards on their team, I got to give them the distinct advantage on offense. Now, defensively, it's a bit of a different story. Granted, the Kings, they're coming out with Drew Doughty, got a veteran defenseman in Rob Scuderi, Slava Voinov, another pretty good defenseman out there. But St. Louis, you're looking at a guy who was nominated for the Norris Trophy last year, Alex Pietrangelo, great defenseman. You're looking at Jamie Langebrunner and Jordan Leopold, who they picked up before the trade deadline. Those are two guys that really strengthen the defensive core for the St. Louis Blues, and that is absolutely monumental in the playoffs, because when you really don't have the high-powered offense that a lot of the other teams have, just like the Los Angeles Kings and maybe the Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings as well, having a great, powerful defense is so vital, and especially for the St. Louis Blues, they really improved on that. I give the Blues a very distinct advantage on defense, which is going to make this series very interesting. Goaltending, it's a little different. We came into this year thinking that the St. Louis Blues were going to be unstoppable simply because of their goaltending. Last year, Brian Elliott and Yaroslav Halak, William M. Jennings Trophy, they did absolutely fantastic. Elliott had the lowest goals against average in the NHL. But this year they've been struggling a little bit. Brian Elliott, who will be the guy going into the playoffs, has returned to form. He's been playing some great hockey recently. I like the way he's playing. LA, Jonathan Quick, he's been returning to his form. He's been playing some great hockey recently, so it's going to be really close. But I give the Kings the advantage because they're looking at the guy who won the Conn Smythe last year, MVP of the playoffs. He's still been playing great this year. The Kings, who got off to a really slow start, Jonathan Quick came in and really helped them out there, helped them get back to the form that they needed to, which brings them to the 5 seed in the Western Conference. So I give Los Angeles the advantage in goaltending. Special teams, both teams have fairly good special teams. I look at the St. Louis Blues and their penalty kill, which is outstanding, but their power play is a little low. So actually my advantage for the special teams has to go to the Los Angeles Kings, because their penalty kill, while maybe not be as good as the Blues, at the other time, their power play percentage, which is, I think, even more important in the postseason, 19.88%. That's pretty strong, above the league average substantially. If the Blues, if the Kings per se, if the Kings can channel their regular season statistics and special teams, they're going to find a way to really get pucks in deep, find a way to set up the power play quick, and get goals and take advantage of St. Louis, who doesn't really have the best discipline out of all the teams. So, while it seems like it'll be a really close matchup, I don't really see that as much. I like the Los Angeles Kings in a distinct fashion in this series. The defense from St. Louis will give the Kings a little bit of trouble, but in the end, I got to go with the Kings in 6 games. I think this will be a fairly short series than some of the other ones. But yeah, I just think that the defending champions have this one in the bag. This has been Peter Marzano with Big 4 Sports. I'll be back with my Eastern Conference predictions after the conclusion of the Boston-Ottawa game. Thank you.